Welcome back, everybody, to another episode on Performance Medicine TV. We're checking in today with Lucas Schmidt, our nutrition coach in Johnson City. How's it over there in JC, Lucas? What's going on over there?
Oh, it's just fine. Weather's lovely today. How is it where you are?
It's wonderful as well, shockingly. It's wonderful weather. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time with us. And we talked a little bit before we hit record. We caught you as you're leaving the room. What's on your mind today? What are we thinking about?
Well, I want to continue what we were talking about last time, which was caloric restriction, but getting a little more specific. So I figured we'd talk about some methods, like the classic, some of the numbers, and kind of the methods to achieve those numbers when you're trying to restrict calories. So this is after, and I mentioned in the previous episode, but I'll go ahead just for those who maybe didn't see it. I talked about generally what caloric restriction means, and why it's not my first initial recommendation for weight loss. First, make sure you're meeting your nutritional needs, like enough protein, enough vitamins, etc., while eating your whole food, ideally. But if you get that stage down and you're either not losing weight fast enough, or you're trying to sort of enhance workouts, things like that, or you have an aesthetic you're looking for, you might want to start considering tracking calories and sort of crunching some numbers. So today we're going to talk about what those numbers look like on average. Of course, I have to deal in averages because I can't speak for everybody. And maybe some ways to achieve those numbers, the ideal numbers. So,
and what we'll do, Lucas, if it's okay with you, I know there's a lot that goes into this. We'll do a 2-part episode on how to track these numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already a little bit intimidated. How do we do that? I've heard the term macros.
Oh yeah.
I've heard lots of different things. Not really sure how to actually execute. So talk to us about how to actually start doing caloric restriction.
Okay. You asked about macros. I'll quickly just give that. That's short from macronutrient, meaning it's sort of the primary overarching nutrients that you need. Okay. Macros generally refer to sources of calories. That doesn't technically, water is considered a macro though, so it's not really a source of calories. But when we're thinking in terms of weight loss, we think of protein, carbs, and fat, sources of calories, macronutrients. Micronutrients would mean vitamins, minerals, the small things, essentials outside of that. You need both, but macro implying larger, but you eat them in large quantities generally to sustain yourself. So, and in some circles, they count fiber as one of them, believe it or not. I consider it a micronutrient, but that's a separate discussion. So, macronutrients. The main thing I'll tell you about those is you've got 4 calories, which is a unit of energy. So I'm oversimplifying, but a calorie is a unit of energy. So we store or we burn. You have 4 per gram of carb or protein. So 1 protein, 4 calories. 1 carb, 4 calories. Fat, it's 9. So you have 9 calories per gram of fat. So if you buy a Snickers bar, for example. I'm thinking Snickers because it's something everybody knows, and there's a nutrient label in the back. You'll see like 35, 40 carbs in there, and then up there at the top, you'll see 12 grams of fat. So a person who is unaware of what these numbers mean might look and go, oh, no, this is low fat. See, look how much lower the fat is than the carbs in this thing. Say, well, yeah, but there's 9 calories per gram of fat versus 4 per carb. So it's a little bit more complicated than that. But, so those are macros. Now, when it comes to raw numbers, this is an estimate. The average person has to have a net weekly deficit, meaning at the end of the week, you have been under this total number of calories of 3,500. Okay? Because 3,500 calories equals a pound, technically. Now, this is the person who wants to lose a pound a week. So let's pretend, again, you got your general eating under control. Like, I know I'm meeting my nutritional needs. Now I'm ready to count the calories, okay? I'm ready to do it. I want to lose a pound a week. Okay, you got to be in a weekly deficit of 3,500. Okay, now what is that? If I were to spread that out over 7 days evenly, that'd be 500 calories a day of being under your caloric need. Now you might go, well, I don't know my caloric need. How do I know that? That's a good question. You figure that out. There's different formulas. You can look them up online if you need to. You type in base metabolic rate calculator. There's a tip for you. You can research it quickly. It's a very general number. I prefer TDEE, total daily energy expenditure number, which is more specific. That is your base metabolic rate plus your caloric burn for the day, your expenditure. So that includes like activity level. And there's a reference chart, I think activity factor is what it's called, that a person you can research it. It's sort of a reference chart. It's like a scale of 1.1 to 1.5, maybe maybe even higher. And these numbers are based on an estimated activity level. So like a 1.1 would be a person who sits all day, whose job requires them to sit all day, and who does not exercise. Sedentary. Okay? 1.2 would be something like, I walk around a little at work. I go for a walk with my friends a couple times a week. Okay? And then maybe I lift weights once. 1.3, you get the trend. So
right.
1.5 and up, when you're calculating calories using this, if you're trying to figure this number out, you got to know your estimated burn for the day for your body. And it does include your height and your weight and your age. You got to know these things to know where to start. What number do I aim for if I'm counting calories? Because otherwise you're just counting calories for no reason.
Right.
Don't be overly generous about your activity factor. So if you work out, meaning walk on a treadmill 5 days a week, that's pretty consistent, right? If I go to the gym 30 minutes, 5 days a week, it's a lot of walking. It's good. It's regular, better than most people do. But that doesn't make you a high active level on the activity factor chart. The activity factor is pretty specific, which is why I would encourage you, if you want to calculate, you can type in TDEE calculator on Google. And there's a plethora of health websites that have access to one. When you're reading the activity factor chart, 1.5 is like, I work out 6 days a week, I lift weights heavy, okay? And my job does not allow me to sit down a lot. You see the different disparity there. If you overestimate your activity level, you're going to give yourself way too many calories to be eating. Because you take that number, like say 1.2, and you multiply it by your base metabolic rate. So there's a big difference in 1,500 times 1.1 versus 1,500 times 1.5. It's a huge difference in calories. And if you get that wrong, if you're like, no, I totally work out really hard, you're going to get fat because you're going to be eating as though you're Michael Phelps.
Right.
But you're not Michael Phelps. So be very specific on when you decide what your activity number is. That's all I'm going to say. That was a little tangent, but it is valuable for the TDEE. So you get your total daily energy expenditure, which is how many calories you need to stay with the weight you are, okay? Take that number, and if you want to lose a pound a week, you need to subtract 500 from that number every single day. Let's say my TDEE is 2,500. That's probably what mine is, close, 2,500 calories a day, based on my activity, my build, etc. So if I wanted to lose weight, I need to eat 2,000 calories a day. And as long as I maintain activity and don't change anything else, I should see a pound a week of fat loss. So that's the basic formula.
You're looking at that $3,500 calorie amount a week.
A week, yeah.
And can you explain why that equals 1 pound again, the 3,500 number?
It's just thermodynamics. It's just that's the estimated value of stored calories. Fat. Stored fat essentially is the pound of fat. You want to burn a pound of fat, you got to burn 3,500 calories. Could you do it in a day? Yeah. Would you want to do it in a day? Absolutely not. That would mean I'm not eating and I'm on a treadmill for 6 hours, or I'm, swimming from a shark with adrenaline pumping through my body, like burning as many. It's just not practical.
Well, Lucas, what I'm getting from this, and I hope our listeners are as well, guys. Let's be honest about our TDEE.
Yeah.
Okay, like when
Better to be
I
a
was
little
first
under
listening,
than over.
I was thinking, I'm a 1.4, I'm a 1.5.
And you might be.
I know.
Hang on, let me see if I can calculate yours. How often do you exercise?
I'd say, and I'm doing like body weight stuff right now,
Which is
like
high intensity
planks and
generally.
stuff like that. 25, 30 minutes a day.
How many
but
days?
Not taking every day.
7 days?
Okay, Ben, don't get ahead of yourself. 5. Let's go 5.
5. And the intensity level of that 30 minutes is very high?
No.
Oh, it's not high. It's not high intensity workouts.
No, it's not hit.
Oh,
No.
okay. So 30 minutes of that, strength training, calisthenics sounds, I'd estimate you at 1.3, 1.4.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if I, knowing what I'm doing, like actually knowing, I'd go 1.3.
Okay.
I see, Zach and Ryan in the green room. I know they're at 1.5, 1.6 easily. They're on those Michael Phelps type
Oh, really?
plans.
Yeah. Jeez. Sign me up. Not. It sounds brutal. Yeah, and for the listeners or viewers, you don't have to have these numbers memorized. Like I said, type in, if you want to go on any search engine you use, it doesn't have to be Google, whatever. TDEE calculator, and maybe put comma activity with activity factor. And generally, the activity factor chart describes very thoroughly what that activity number looks like. Okay? That's why I know it. It's because I've read it so many times. But it doesn't really leave a lot for the imagination. It's pretty thorough if you find a good one. So,
what we'll do, Lucas, is we'll stop it right there. I know you got to get going.
Oh,
and then we'll get you back to do a part 2 of this.
The next one I think we can talk about I don't want to do 500 calories a day. What's another way? What's another math?
Right.
And I'll give you some ideas there. It makes it a lot easier. So.
All right, guys, stay tuned for a part 2 episode with Nutrition Coach Lucas Schmidt. Lucas, I appreciate you, man. We'll see you next time. Hey, guys, just a reminder, this is not official medical advice. For such, please seek an appointment with a licensed medical provider.